ahead.
Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Hey, Wall.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner.
Here. Don't be.
Constitutes a quorum.
You'll mix him up out there and they'll count him here. They don't know what AWOL means. Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Chaplain Wesley McDuffie. Thank you very much for doing that for us today, Chaplain. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledge.
Good morning, Chaplain.
Good morning. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for an opportunity to just assemble here today. But Lord, as we assemble, let us remember those that have lost their lives throughout this land and country. Father, in particularly Florida and the things that are happening in Austin and thereabouts. We realize it could easily happen here in Tarrant County. But you've been so kind to us, and your grace have really fallen upon us right here in Tarrant County, and we thank you for that. But now, Lord, we just ask that you bless us with the leadership that you've always given us. And as we go, Lord, as we take it to another level to ensure that Tarrant County will, in fact, be one of the best counties in this United States of America. Lord, we thank you for the leaders that you entrusted us with. But Lord, as we embark upon new times, we pray that you energize us, that we too, as employees and citizens of this county, will engage to ensure that this becomes a great county. And for those that are having issues, Lord, we pray for them right now. There's a lot of sickness, there's a lot of death, but you're still God. And we're just calling up on you to move according to your will. Now, Lord, bless this day, bless this meeting, bless all in attendance. So in Jesus' name I pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Chaplain. We're going to put you at the back of the room in the future and let you just give a prayer in the background.
We can do it, sir.
Sounds like the voice of God.
Yeah, well, that's another idea. We could put you on the 6th floor and let you just speak from above.
Well, then they would think it'd be the voice of God.
That's exactly what we were saying.
Amen.
Gotta have fun at this, folks. You gotta have fun at this. Agenda announcements, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we do not have any announcements as it relates to this agenda. Just one comment. We do have an IT steering committee this afternoon at 2 p.m. It'll be in the Family Law Center. Also, as it relates to the PEBC, that meeting is going to be next Wednesday, and it's going to be at 2 p.m. at COG. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of March the 13th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a proclamation and a resolution. The first is the proclamation on World Down Syndrome Day. And I believe we have Michelle Krim, Kim Roca, and Kendall Kaiser here. Y'all come on forward. Just one. So you drew the lucky bean, huh?
I did, yes.
Well, we're glad to have you here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll read this into the record, and then we'll give you a chance to make any comments you'd like to make. Whereas Down syndrome is the most commonly occurring genetic condition and occurs equally in all racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic groups, and whereas 1 in every 700 babies will be born with Down syndrome, and there are over 400,000 individuals with Down syndrome in the United States today, and whereas the Down Syndrome Partnership of North Texas serves more than 800 families and 2,000 individuals in and around Tarrant County, and whereas it is the mission of the partnership to provide support to individuals with Down syndrome and their families through awareness and engagement, advocacy and outreach, education, and the exchange of ideas and experiences. And whereas its vision is to promote the value of those with Down syndrome in our lives and in our communities. And whereas the Down Syndrome Partnership of North Texas continually strives toward a vision of full access and acceptance, full potential, and a life of opportunity for people with Down syndrome and their loved ones. And whereas March 21st has been nationally designated as World Down Syndrome Day to signify the uniqueness of the third copy of the 21st chromosome, which causes Down syndrome. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize March 23rd, 2018 as World Down Syndrome Day. And further, we thank the Down Syndrome Partnership of North Texas for their work to support children with Down syndrome and their families and caregivers. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 20th day of March 2018, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Let me
Roy, I'll get you to go down with me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you, Commissioners. I invite all of you to celebrate World Down Syndrome Day tomorrow, which is going to be Wednesday, March 21st in Sundance Square from 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to light up downtown in blue and yellow. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it.
And we have another certificate there. for
Oh,
you
okay,
also.
wonderful. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Tell Andrew we said hello.
I will.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, I have a resolution for Regina Ross. If you would read that into the record, please.
You bet. Whereas Regina Farr Ross was born on July the 4th, 1914 in Fort Worth, Texas, to Robert Farr and Mary Jane King, attended 9th Ward Colored School and graduated from the historic I.M. Terrell High School. And whereas Miss Ross was a faithful member of Wesley Chapel AME Church and was an active member of the Association of Community Organizations for Reform, now in her younger years, spending time in New York fighting to lower the utility rates for senior citizens, and spent countless hours as a volunteer teaching children to read. Whereas she was an enthusiastic traveler who loved catching the Greyhound bus or Amtrak train to visit places around the country, especially trips with her family to attend the annual Huntsville Prison Rodeo. And whereas Miss Ross was a loving neighbor on Prospect Avenue and a Northside community staple who was seen on any given day sitting on the porch of her favorite chair, waving and lovingly saying, "I do," to every passerby. And whereas Regina Farr Ross passed on January 31st, 2018 at the remarkable age of 103, and was preceded in death by her husband Otto, whom she married in 1935, as well as her eldest daughter, and survivors including 5 daughters, 2 sons, 44 grandchildren, and 109 great-grandchildren, and 115 great-great-grandchildren, and 6 great-great-great-grandchildren. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby honor and recognize Regina Farr Ross for her contributions to her community, and further, we extend our deepest sympathy to the members of her family and her many friends for their great loss. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 20th day of March, 2018.
And I move for its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This motion passes unanimously, and I'm just guessing I've got children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. I don't know that I see any of the great-great-great-grandchildren, but y'all come on forward here.
I'm gonna ask Commissioner Brooks if he will to go down with me. Meet
Come
y'all
on
at
down
the
here, folks.
Podium.
Whoop. Now, is that, wait a minute, is that the great-great-great? That's the great-great-great. 3 greats. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. You're gonna have to get in the front, because you're vertically challenged like me. Push that thing back.
Make sure you can see the camera.
And it'll be flashing for about the next 5 minutes. There'll be 3 flashes, at least. Uh-oh, we're going 4. Don't pinch that baby now.
Comments y'all would like to make?
Push that, we push that thing on back where we can get it connected again, and then we'll.
Thank you. I am the granddaughter of Regina Ross, who we affectionately know as Big Mama. And so I just want to thank the court for just the acknowledgement, especially, Commissioner Johnson. Thank you so much. She was a remarkable woman that we loved and cherished, and we are just a proud product of her. And I just want to make sure that I recognize my mother and my aunt, her 2 daughters that are here, and we just thank you on behalf of the Ross family.
Well, obviously, family was very, very important to her.
Obviously. Yes.
And I know y'all will keep that tradition going.
We will.
And you'll tell those stories to that great
Absolutely.
grandchild.
Again, thank you and bless you.
I added all the numbers together.
Yes.
Seems like she produced about 275.
274 to be exact.
274.
Yes.
Lord have mercy.
And counting.
Yes.
And counting.
Yes.
So the secret to longevity is what? Have a lot of kids?
Well, she was interviewed by Bob Ray Sanders when she turned 100, and she said she walked every day, she was kind, and she kept God first.
Here you go. All right. Pretty neat. That is pretty neat. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a couple of public hearings today.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I almost feel like we ought to be having refreshments in 504C for all the family.
Two public hearings today. Both of them are in Precinct 3. The first one is for the installation, requesting a public hearing for the installation of no parking signs on Bonds Ranch Road in Precinct 3. We've monitored this situation for years. People park their cars on the north side of the right-of-way there, and we call them and ask them to move their cars, and usually by the time we get a hold of them, they've moved it or they've sold the car, but it causes issues with traffic as they're scoping out those vehicles. So we're requesting no parking signs within that area of Bonds Ranch Road.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, I will close the public hearing.
Move approval.
Second.
There a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Second public hearing request is for the installation of no dumping signs on Blue Mound Road for Precinct 3. They have a stockpile up there near the railroad. People assume that the stockpile with pipes and dirt and things like that are in there, they can also dump their items in the right-of-way there, and we'll pick it up. Unfortunately, we have to. So the purpose of this sign would be to restrict no dumping and give the sheriff's enforcement when necessary.
So this is a public hearing, and at this time, I'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I will close the public hearing.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have two remaining items on our section. The first one, we're requesting that the court approve a tobacco-free workplace policy, which would replace our previously adopted smoking policy. There's a need to do this. The State Department of Health Services has placed new requirements, grant requirements, on entities that solicit grant funds from them. We have about $20 million that we receive through grant funds that would be affected as it relates to this policy. This policy conforms to their regulations, and we're seeking the court's approval.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. In just kind of summary, what is this actually?
So it broadens the definition of what smoking entails, the type of tobacco uses that it entails. It basically does not allow any type of use of tobacco products inside county buildings or places that we lease. It also extends to 20 feet outside the entrances of buildings, which is in conformity, at least in Fort Worth, with the city council's ordinances. It does not affect parking as it relates to surface parking lots,
Okay.
but it affects how it relates to any structure such as a parking structure. For example, the Calhoun Street garage it affects, but the bank lot that we bought that we're going to turn into parking, it doesn't affect that. It also includes areas that are enclosed or partially enclosed inside a building, like the loading docks, things such as that. And so that's probably the majority of the changes, Your Honor.
Okay.
It also includes electronic cigarettes and smokeless tobacco.
That's correct.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McMillan is going to do item number 2.
You mentioned, let me just say here, is Mr. Phillips coming up here today? He's not. You mentioned that Chase lot that we bought. What's the status on that? When is that going to become a surface parking lot?
Mr. Phillips.
I mean, we cleaned it off pretty quick. It looks pretty good, but it looked a whole lot better if it had stripes on it.
I can answer that, but it's such a simple answer, I'm going to ask Mr. Phillips to do it.
Glad he's expressing confidence in your ability.
He always has, and I appreciate he's always been a good supporter. August.
August. It's going to be a parking lot?
August.
August of what year?
Simple answer.
We went through the process of the Downtown Design Review Board. We asked for some variances, waivers on some things, and we got some of those, some we didn't. We got a waiver on the forestry requirement. We already had some big trees on the property. We didn't get a waiver on installing the pedestrian lights in the sidewalks as required from downtown design standards. So we're having to, when you do that, we have to do community facilities agreements. We have to do all these kind of other things to prepare for our bid documents, and we're doing that right now.
What are we having to put in there?
We're having to put the pedestrian lights like we did in front of the Civil Courts building, like you see around the waterfall project over here, and it's required by the downtown design standards. All
Kinda
they're
like
about 10
Downtown
feet.
Inc.?
It's an overlay, it's a zoning overlay. It's required, remember when we do the, when we've done projects downtown Fort Worth, we go in front of the downtown design committee. They look at our exterior of our building, they look at how it's arranged, and they make recommendations.
So it's basically though lighting the parking lot.
No, sir, it's lighting the pedestrian walkways. They wouldn't allow us to, we already have poles planned for safety, and it only provided a couple of foot candles per square foot. They thought because of pedestrian traffic, they think is there now, and in the future, they were going to requiring the pedestrian light poles. There's about one every 20 or 30 feet. You can see them.
Describe these pedestrian light poles.
When you go out and look in front of the Civil Courts building, they're probably 10 foot tall, got little acorn lights on them on the top. You'll see them around downtown. Other property owners have to do the same thing.
As the downtown area becomes more populated with residential properties, think about the apartments over there, the city wants to ensure that there's adequate lighting for safety for people that are walking from their apartments into downtown.
So this is along the sidewalks?
Yes, sir.
It is in the right-of-way. We are, as part of a property owner, and I guess in any property owner, the adjacent right-of-way is the responsibility of the property owner regarding maintenance and things of that nature. We are buying the lights. The installation of the lights, all the infrastructure, the breakers, the meter, and things like that, somewhere between $150,000 to $180,000. Once we buy the lights and install them, the city of Fort Worth will take over the utility costs regarding those lights.
That's big of them.
Yeah, and after about 30 years, we'll pay for those poles.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it's worked on our last projects. This one was somewhat unique because we thought that the large poles in the middle, regular parking lot poles, would be okay. And we went a couple of times in front of the committee and it just didn't work out.
Are we going to have to put the large poles in the middle too?
Anyway, yes. Yes, sir. We tried.
So the pedestrians can see the potholes.
Well, which precinct is that in?
One.
Well, there won't be no potholes then, will there?
No, it's city streets.
Oh, you're talking about those potholes?
Yeah.
Well, we are working through it. We're bidding some of the work. We're acting as general contractor to save some money. So my staff will be acting as general contractor to develop and put all the trades together. Precinct 1 will be doing the grading and also the asphalt work when needed.
So we're ultimately going to end up with 10-foot poles all the way around the
Sidewalk.
And we're going to end up with a couple of big poles in the middle.
Yes, sir.
And we can't get rid of the big poles in the middle?
I don't think the pedestrian poles will not provide the light needed for safety inside the parking lot.
So we're going to not have enough lights for safety, but we're going to be putting them up there because pedestrians are supposed to. I'm glad we had this talk.
Yes, I'm glad I got called up here.
Scheduling. Are we going to pay first, or are you going to install those underground?
The pedestrian lights?
Yeah.
There's two electrical projects, one on the interior of our property that we own. We're doing the lights, we're adding gates, operators, and things of that nature. Also, the pedestrian work, the sidewalk work will be a separate contract. It has to be an approved city vendor because they have to have maintenance bonds and things of that nature anytime you do work in the city right away. So it's a different project essentially. But we will do some grading first so they can start trenching, but we won't need that just yet. We're going to wait till we get contractors on board and get them prepped up and and ask your staff to come in and grade. Then when we finish, probably this summer, one of the last things we do is asphalt.
Before
August.
Before August.
August.
I'm concerned about getting heavy equipment in there with all that underground stuff.
If you notice, he said August, he didn't say what year.
It's going to be a challenge.
We'll work it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come on down.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
You may recall at the end of last year, we had a presentation on a request for tax abatement for the Smith and Nephew Incorporated project, where they plan to expand their Fort Worth operations to increase manufacturing capabilities at their existing facility at 4900 West Vickery Boulevard. They plan to invest at least $4.7 million in total construction costs and at least $21 million in new business personal property by the end of this year. Smith & Nephew currently employs 83 full-time employees at the location, and this expansion is expected to add a minimum of 100 new jobs over the next 4 years. The City of Fort Worth has approved and executed a 5-year tax abatement providing up to 55% tax abatement, and the attached county agreement provides for county participation in tax abatement a maximum of 50% for a period of 5 years also. We're estimating that at that rate, for 5 years, the total abatement would be just over $163,000 for the county.
Which is about the same as those lights that were being paid for. To go around the
Add
property.
another 20 to it, and you're
This
about
does
there.
not include Hospital District on this project. So today we're asking now for you to approve the resolution and tax abatement agreement that provides for Tarrant County participation with the City of Fort Worth in the abatement of ad valorem taxes on eligible real and personal property improvements made by Smith & Nephew Incorporated for the expansion of its manufacturing facility at Vickery Boulevard for a period of 5 years at a maximum abatement percentage of 50% as set forth in the agreement.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We don't need any more discussion. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tidwell.
We have two items that we're asking the court to consider this morning. The first is to receive and file the Tarrant County financial statements for the period ended December of 2017.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our other item is to ask you to receive and file the auditor's report for the Tarrant County Sheriff's Commissary operations for the fiscal year ended 2016. You have the sheriff's response attached, and we are still working with the Sheriff's Department to correct the items noted in the report.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Renee. Ms. Snyder.
My board is asking, or is recommending the approval of a claim to LaToya Jackson in the amount of $1,137.80 plus a rental car.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning. We have two additional items. Both are waiver of terminal benefits. The first one is juvenile services. Mr. Medlin is requesting a waiver of 320 vacation hours effective March the 24th. We're estimating the net cost to the general fund will be a little bit more than $3,000, including fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And again, our last item, 2, is a waiver, this time from Constable Precinct 8. We're requesting 3 waivers effective March the 20th. All 3 waivers, we're estimating a total of 479 vacation hours. We're also estimating the cost for the total 479 hours will be approximately $17,600, including fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Yeah, I figured he might not be here today. Did he just all of a sudden call in sick?
No, actually, he took vacation.
He took vacation. Yeah, he didn't even want to be in the building. I was going to put a paper sack back here for him to wear, but I noticed that when I heard he wasn't going to be here, I decided I'd just not put it back there.
Yeah, he probably didn't want to face the fact they didn't make it through round one.
I told him, I said, you know, it's going to be a shame when a seed 6 goes out so early, and I didn't quite believe it myself when I saw that it actually happened.
I know. But
Well, he'll
crazy-
just
crazy
tell him
week.
that he may have missed the week, but I'll still be here next week.
Okay. He'll be back.
Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Commissioner Brooks. Good morning, all commissioners.
Morning.
Judge. We have 3 items for your approval this morning. The first is bid number 2018-54. That's the purchase of furniture for the Tarrant County Southwest Courthouse expansion. Our award recommendation to be awarded to all vendors listed in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any
Progress.
discussion? Getting close.
Getting close.
Very close.
Motion passes unanimously.
The second item is bid number 2018-063, the purchase of fitness center equipment for human resources. Our recommendation is to award to the primary vendors listed in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our last item is approval to conduct negotiations for RFQ number 2018-058 for the appraisal services for real estate property, for transportation services, to award to approve negotiations with the vendors listed in your court communique.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McClellan. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We have one item with the Sheriff's Office we're requesting approval for, and that is a mutual aid agreement between the Sheriff's Office and the City of Fort Worth. We are providing one tactical medic and receive the benefit of their 10-person tactical medic unit, which will allow us to have 24/7 coverage throughout the county.
Excellent.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brooks.
I move approval of item 9M, 1A and B, an interlocal agreement with the City of Everman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, and I will move approval of interlocal agreement for Precinct 3, Commissioner Fickus.
Second.
We have a motion. I made the motion, that's right. I'm
I
not used to
second.
doing this.
I second.
I did.
You
did.
can move on now.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. You got it, you know. Are there any appointments today? There being none, then you have before you the claims including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Mangus?
Thank you, Honorable Member. We have 3 items to bring to you this morning. The first one is an update by the Public Health Department. Mr. Tenasia is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning, Vinny.
Yes, sir. So wanted to share the good news about the flu season. You all are familiar with the science that flu is there all year round. But typically when it falls below baseline, it's kind of safe to assume that we're back to normal levels of activity. So that's where we are. But let me kind of walk you through some of those slides and kind of show you where we are nationally. So if you look at Texas, and this is week of March 3rd, so we're obviously, moved past that. But still, there's high activity, when you look at statewide data and in many states. But it's significantly coming down. I mean, if you recall the maps from before, when we talked to you about a month ago, the whole country was pretty much high activity, and we're starting to back off quite a bit. When these maps update, I'm expecting a lot of other states will fall off as well into the greens and the yellows instead of red. In the state of Texas, only the major metro areas, major population centers are really showing high levels of activity still, but overall activity is down significantly across the state. Nationally, and I know these slides are a little fuzzy, I was trying to save space on the email and it kind of got a little too fuzzy. But the lines are pretty indicative that flu activities, hospitalizations related to that are down significantly. The top graph that you're seeing, the green line, is senior hospitalizations related to flu, and these are laboratory confirmed, and they've been trending down for several weeks. I think that's where we started to see the decline first. Influenza-like activity had still been declining while this was starting to decline. So that was the first indicator that we were about to catch a break. But it has come back down very significantly, and I think that's a good trend to end the season here. Influenza-like illness picture nationally, significant drop over the last several weeks. We're still above baseline nationally in account for a lot of those states that were still in the red. But it is a very, very quick and rapid decline. Hopefully, nothing out of the ordinary happens. You really can't predict. If you recall the H1N1 season in 2009, it actually started kind of late March, early April. So things can still happen, but overall, the trend is looking good at this time, going down for the seasonal flu. Texas, following the same picture. We're approaching baseline levels for Texas. And as I was saying earlier, flu activity is there throughout the year, so there's really no season end to flu, but for all practical purposes, once we are below baseline, it's not really what people worry about at that time. We're into regular activity.
Wait.
Yes, sir.
This graph seems to be tailing up at the end. Is there any concern there?
So the ones that are tailing up, those are like actually the next season that comes up. So we're looking at the green, the blue, and the yellows are previous seasons. So then you're looking at back in September when it starts to pick back up. Typically, in the fall it kicks back up and then kind of escalates in December, January, February, all those type of months.
Okay.
So those months are on this side of the graph. Tarrant County is below baseline. This is the first week below baseline again, so that's very good news. So officially you can call it over, but it's never really over. Texas baseline, we're just at the top of the baseline, so hopefully within a week we'll be below baseline for the state of Texas as well. But what should you do as an individual? The message remains the same all throughout the season. Take a flu shot. Even when we're below baseline, that doesn't mean flu is not around. Reminder, this has been a very deadly season. In Tarrant County, we've had 34 deaths reported. Fortunately, we did not have any pediatric deaths reported, which is an indicator of a very severe flu season. But adult deaths were a lot higher. Typically, we don't see this many. We're usually, 10 to 12 deaths a year, sometimes not even that. So 34 deaths was a very heavy season. Dallas County, I think at last count, I heard was about 78 deaths. Denton was close to about 10, and they, I think, had at least one or maybe two pediatric deaths. So that was a very heavy, and if you look at the state of Texas, we've had over 4,000 deaths reported. That's a lot of people just in Texas dying of the flu. So it's very serious that still take a flu shot, stay home when you're sick, get antivirals immediately, like Relenza or Tamiflu, when you think you have the flu, because they help reduce the severity of the flu, can prevent death and other serious illness from the flu. So those messages stay the same throughout the year, regardless of where the peak activity of the flu is, even in the summer months. So that's just a very important reminder for everybody. Even though we're sort of out of the woods for flu, don't take it lightly. If you have the flu, go take antivirals from your doctor. Some of the data sources that we use pretty much stay the same. We look at CDC and the state data, and of course we do our own flu surveillance. And with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Benny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benny.
Board members, we can move to item B. This is an update, a monthly update on the hospital district. Mr. Early is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Your Honor. Wanted to give you an update. JPS every March has its own form of March Madness where we do our match. And what the match is those individuals who are applying to our residency programs and go through that process. You all know that JPS has the largest family medicine program in the nation. We take that very seriously. It's a wonderful program. We had 670 applicants this year for 76 slots. We had our best year ever of first matches. And what a first match is what your priority is as an individual and what our priority is with you joining our program. And we had the highest amount of first round matches we've ever had, which is powerful. To put that in perspective, when I first joined JPS, we had 147 applicants for a little over 50 so positions. Now we're at 670 applicants. The other large program that we have, or not a large program, but certainly a popular program, is our emergency medicine program. There are not a whole lot of emergency residency programs in the nation. We had 900 applicants for 13 spots. Wow. So it gives you a perspective of that, which is always slightly interesting when somebody from the community or someone in the nation calls me and says they have a son or a daughter they'd like for me to put in a good word for. I want to assure you by this live streaming and what I'm mentioning here, my voice has no impact whatsoever on who gets into our residency programs. I appreciate the fact that people think I might be powerful in that persuasion, but I am not. So I don't have any call in that. It's an interview process, and it goes off of computerization. So 900 applicants for 13 slots will give you an indication of the value of residency programs. And considering the fact that our emergency rooms through THR and Baylor and HCA and Methodist have about a 41% overutilization aspect to it, making sure that we train emergency room residents and doctors in this community are vitally important. So I wanted to give you an update on that. Also wanted to let you know that if you go to our website, you will find a section called Jps Bond Questions. That is not to be presumptuous in any way. It's not to assume that we're going to have a bond package. It is just there for our vendors who hear about bond questions regarding the Blue Ribbon Committee and others, that they can go there and get questions answered as opposed to asking individual board members or asking individuals of the administration. That is not a dialogue we necessarily want to get into, and we want to post all of those questions so that all the questions are available to everybody and they get one single answer. That also keeps up with our policy at the board level, and Mr. Powell, our board chair, is here today, but our board takes a very high road to dealing with vendors and having lunches or dinners or outside meetings with vendors regarding anything, regarding any potential bond package that come about. So I wanted to let you know that we continue to do that and continue to have that on there. But it's not the presumption of a bond package. It is to say if they have any questions, we answer them all universally there. We're making great progress at the Northeast Medical Home. We have dried it all in. We have the walls up, and all the work now is being done on the interior of that facility. That will, as you well know, deal with an update on our Brown Trail facility, and it will be good. It will also have some new services, including radiology services, technology advancements out there, and it will be our very first drive-through pharmacy that we will have. So for us and for our patients, that will be a significant benefit. Also wanted to let you know, and we reported this at our board meeting this time, and I think this is actually significant but could be overlooked. 7 years ago, when we switched over to an electronic medical record, and a lot of other organizations in Tarrant County were switching to the new electronic medical record, if you were slightly quiet on any given day, you could hear the gnashing of teeth and the wailing of physicians having to switch over to an electronic medical record. There was a hue and cry beyond compare, and it was going to be the nemesis of all of healthcare, and it was going to be terrible. And it turned out not only to not be terrible, it tended to be very significant for helping our patients, helping our physicians, and helping us communicate with other hospitals. For example, for those who use an Epic system like JPS, which is one of the largest systems, if we have somebody that is moving from emergency room to emergency room in Tarrant County, we have a much better ability to track that individual. And not just be punitive, but help them. That's an individual who has a problem, and we want to help them, not only the overutilization, but help them. There was a national survey of physicians, and what they thought about their electronic medical records, whatever the vendor was, JPS finished 93rd percentile for the acceptance and the value of an electronic medical record from our doctors. That puts us in one of the highest percentiles in the nation for doctors who saw it to be of a great value to patients and themselves. The days of the wailing and the gnashing of teeth are now over, and there's an acceptance through technology to better afford greater capabilities for our patients and our doctors. So that's what I have as an update for y'all. I'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
I guess the only question that I would have would be with regards to that medical record. I know that several of the other hospitals in the area also have Epic.
Yes.
Are you able to communicate back and forth? Or is that precluded by HIPAA?
No, it's not precluded. It's not seamless, but we can communicate, and we're advancing, and so is Epic advancing. And again, Epic was the one we chose. It's also the one that THR chose, and I know some of the others are even went with earlier versions of different vendors are now switching over to Epic. It's been hugely helpful for us, and it's been helpful as we communicate with others. Again, it's not seamless, but we don't violate HIPAA necessarily.
But as of right now, it doesn't sound like you're also doing a whole lot of back and forth with, okay, I want to check with THR or someplace else and see if this person's...
No, and I think the reason, I mean, some of that we are and we do, but right now we're just tracking our own patient base, not reaching out as much. But it will get to that point, and it will get to that point where you happen to be on vacation in Oregon and we can pull up your medical record or send your medical record there and make sure that there isn't anything that you're allergic to or give a medical history of everything you received. That's when it's going to be hugely valuable.
I would suspect, though, that a lot of your patients may have from time to time appeared other places.
Yeah, I think it's not just restricted to our patient base. That is unfortunate when you have an individual who might have an abuse issue and might find themselves going from spot to spot. It's a challenge, and we can intervene and help that individual.
Well, and I wasn't just referring to that. I mean, I know you have done a tremendous job of lowering the wait time in the emergency rooms. You still have some that leave and go elsewhere.
I think this month we're below 3%.
And when you came in, it was what, like 20%?
21%, yes, sir.
So, I mean, I think you've done a great job. But I'm just mainly meaning if they have if they have been at another facility, do they normally tell you all that, or do you normally just have to say, okay?
They're pretty good about letting us know and letting us know where they've received. The other thing is oftentimes they'll tell us if they are confused. They'll tell us the name of their doctor. We'll realize that's not a doctor within our system. We're able to look up. They were at the Baylor system, whatever. And we do have, within Tarrant County, the cooperative spirit of the healthcare networks is pretty good. We do communicate. Even if you didn't have the electronic medical record, we communicate well.
Well, I know probably in the last 2 months, I have, through our insurance plan, I've done one of these virtual docs, and I've gone into the doc in the box, and I've gone into my regular doc. So do all three of those, I know they all end up at the insurance company, but are they all available to each one of the different doctors?
Probably not. Probably not. I couldn't tell you that for sure, but knowing that they're totally different systems, I doubt they're all along the same system in that case. But the larger facilities, again, where a bulk of our patients are oftentimes, particularly in downtown Fort Worth, going to bounce between us and downtown and THR Harris, those we can share quite easily.
Okay.
So.
I'm glad to hear that the medical facilities in Tarrant County are beginning to collaborate more and more. The objective in my mind is an integrated countywide health system with each remaining separate but enhancing the strengths of each other. And I think that a vigorous electronic medical record system is essential to reaching that goal.
Well, one of the things, Commissioner, that happened was the comment made by the Blue Ribbon Committee about the cooperative spirit and the role that not only JPS should play, but others in fostering that communication and collaborative efforts. And I think we'll go a long way to doing that. And I think no matter what happens, the Blue Ribbon Committee has served already a very valuable purpose in giving us suggestions on how we can improve. And I think that's definitely one way. I think another way is the future of this community with research and where we're going to go, and the community-wide aspects to dealing with research projects and making sure that patients are under the greatest level of safety and security in any of those clinical trials that we're doing on cancer and other type things. I think the community effort will really enhance what we do in Tarrant County. So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Robert,
Yes,
could I
sir.
see you in my office for just a minute after the meeting?
Yes, sir. I will be happy to do that. And
Would
then
you tell
I will.
Commissioner Johnson that he's second in line?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Wynn, would you like to? No, I'm just suggesting. So I will be happy to be in your office, and then I will be in your office. Would any of the rest of you like for me? Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Finally, members of the court, we have one additional item to bring to the court. That's item C. Ms. McMillan is going to introduce this particular item.
Judge, Commissioners, for several years, Commissioner Wynn's office has facilitated with stakeholders along the Pioneer Parkway the discussion of developing an international corridor along this area. Last year, the City of Arlington, in partnership with the county, embarked on a study to develop design guidelines for this area. And Sarah Stubblefield, from the senior planner for the City of Arlington, is here today to show you what the recommended guidelines for this area are.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Stubblefield. I come from the City of Arlington Planning Department to give you an update on the design guidelines that we have been doing in partnership with Commissioner Wynn's office and his staff. We are almost through the adoption process of these. We will be presenting them to our City Council tonight for the first reading and public hearing in our brand new council chambers that is having its first meeting there this evening. So the intent of this program was to develop design guidelines both for the public and private realms in this gateway area to set the tone for the future improvements. You'll see in a moment that our scope of this project was relatively small, but they are replicable throughout the corridor. The idea is to establish the international corridor as a regional destination for the Metroplex. With what is existing there, there's a lot of international business there that we'd like to capitalize on by enhancing everything that we already have there. I did mention the scope was pretty small. Our project area was 30 acres on the western end of the international corridor, also known as Pioneer Parkway, also known as 303, to some of our longer time residents, I learned. This is also the home of Dino's Sandwich Shop for many of the people who are familiar with this area, but otherwise it's pretty nondescript. So it was a good opportunity for us to really come in and pull out the bones and say, what can we do here and what can we do in the international corridor so that people know everything and the richness of the culture and the diversity that is here. We went through a pretty traditional planning process with this project. We collected data. We hired consultants 505 Design and Land Design to help us come up with a community vision. They worked with our community stakeholder group and the Tarrant County International Corridor Vision Committee to kind of pull out what was special about this area. We gathered feedback after we developed some guidelines and came up with some basic ideas. And we refined those to the point where we're ready for adoption and implementation of these guidelines. We had some basic principles. What we kept saying to our stakeholder groups was we want incremental change in this area. We don't want to come in and create something brand new, but we do want to create an incremental change where small changes can make big impact in this area. We want to tell the story of the people that live there, but we also want to keep it simple. It's a kind of cluttered corridor, and so small incremental changes that declutter a little bit but add to the character is what we were going for. And we also wanted to enhance the pedestrian experience by adding sidewalks. In our study area, there is no continuous sidewalk, so making sure that there's a pedestrian experience that can be had between all of the international businesses that are here, and of course making it safer for the people who come to this area. This is the study area concept plan, the different elements that would create this gateway effect and make people know that they had arrived in the Arlington International Corridor. It includes some median icons, vertical elements, flags, banners that we typically see. In Arlington, we have them in the entertainment district and in our downtown areas, so we would want to include those there as well. Specialty hard paving and specialty sidewalks are all things that would make this area stand out. And of course, a lot of greenery to be added. This is a very concrete heavy intersection, so adding landscaping wherever we could to soften it and to make it more inviting. We adopted a circular motif for this area. In our conversations with the community, we heard a lot about how it was a unifying area. The circle is a symbol of unity, but more literally, it is also a symbol of the globe, highlighting that international culture as well. So we see it in the intersection, a designed crosswalk area. All of the sidewalk areas are also kind of circular in their specialty paving, and the plantings would mimic that circular motif as well. And this is a rendering to give you an idea of the feel that we're going for in this area and what all these elements could look like as we implement them and as we complete projects in this area. And again, these ideas are replicable throughout the corridor, not just at this intersection, but along the International Corridor, which would stretch all the way east to 360 and into Grand Prairie. Our guidelines also have some private realm recommendations. These are not binding, like some of the downtown overlay you guys heard about before. These would be recommendations and partnerships that we would build with the business owners. So these are kind of neutral backgrounds, a lot of adaptive reuse. You can see inspiration of the coffee shop that was clearly an auto-related use previously. But we would add in color and lighting and outdoor seating to these areas in accents through ceramic tiles and through framework, colorful frames and outdoor seating. Lighting was a huge part of our recommendations because almost every culture that we see in our international corridor has an expressive lighting, so lanterns and things like that to make it safer, but also to express the culture. Signage should also be expressive in this area. We should encourage tenants to express their individual cultures, metals, woods, maybe not a puffer fish, but something that is equally identifiable so that people say, hey, I really want to go there. So encouraging that creativity for our tenants that are in these spaces. Right now we have a lot of strip centers that have kind of these behemoth just stretches of blue or whatever panel that just aren't inviting because you don't know what's there. So allowing this creativity is going to be a big part of implementing our plan. And also, finally, murals. So in appropriate places where murals create identifiable areas, say, hey, meet me here, let's go here and take a picture. I want to go to that restaurant with a really cool mural, not cural. So creating these spaces where people want to go because it's inviting and neat and different than anywhere else they can go. We have been shopping these design guidelines around our community. We've taken them to two of our prominent neighborhood groups, HANA, Heart of Arlington Neighborhood Association, and the East Arlington Renewal Neighborhood. The guidelines were unanimously approved by our Planning and Zoning Commission at their meeting on February 21st for recommendation for approval by the City Council. And we have met with our Community and Neighborhood Development Council Committee twice to sort of refine these ideas. So as I mentioned tonight, we are going to be presenting and having a public hearing about these design guidelines at the City of Arlington City Council meeting. And we will take them back for our second reading on April 10th because we are adopting this as an ordinance, the guidelines will become a part of our city's comprehensive plan upon adoption. So it will become a part of our official city policy. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Any questions?
During your process, I'm sure you met with business owners in that area.
Mm-hmm.
How receptive were they to these ideas of redevelopment?
I think in general, it it's a little bit of a tough sell here because they're collecting rent and rents are low. I think we'll see a lot of public infusion. Once the public investment is made in areas like this, then you see the businesses want to step up. But I think we also visited with a lot of business owners that are ready for change here. And I think they're ready to be recognized and appreciated for their international business that they have here.
How are you planning on, is there going to be some sort of an overlay district, or how are you planning on financing and paying for a lot of that?
At this time, these design guidelines don't cover a specific implementation funding strategy, but I think that is a part of the momentum of this project is to start talking about that part of implementation.
Okay.
Court members, over the years, the immigrants come to Tarrant County, and they tend to congregate in a specific area to do business. And for example, in Arlington and Grand Prairie is along Pioneer Parkway, and in Harlem City, I believe that's Precinct 4, Commissioner Johnson, is along Belknap, right? And over a long period of time, I'm talking about 40 years or so, the parents and grandparents passed on their businesses to the younger generation. And now the younger generation are seeing the values of redevelopment, okay? And the whole idea, this location locates about 10 minutes from downtown Arlington and from the entertainment district, namely the Texas Rangers Stadium and the AT&T Stadium, and has direct access to State Highway 360. So the gateway, the business is already there. It's the only place that you can think of in very few places in Tarrant County that you can actually purchase live catfish and lobsters and clams and crawfish and tilapia and so forth, and have them basically fillet in any way you want to. It's one of the few places in Tarrant County where you can buy exotic fruits from Thailand, from Vietnam, from China, from various Caribbean islands, fresh. Okay, very few places that in Tarrant County. So the whole idea here is to turn the corridor into an international tourist destination. Okay, which the city of Arlington alone welcomes about 15 million visitors to Arlington, and the city of Grand Prairie welcome about 9 million. Okay, so it's a perfect place if we able to collaborate with the city of Arlington, and hopefully the city of Grand Prairie on the eastern side is there's already a Asia Times Square there as an anchor on Pioneer Parkway and Great Southwest Parkway, and the city of Grand Prairie have expressed an interest in doing something similar right now at that intersection. So it will take some time, but eventually things will begin to gel. Already there is a new restaurant open up. There is called Crab Station, and it's the service is entirely different. The decoration, the atmosphere is completely different from what is going on there. So some of the younger entrepreneurs, restaurant entrepreneurs, are already seeing what the planned development is, and they are beginning to explore and invest in that redevelopment effort. And hopefully, in the long run, it will pay off not only for the city of Arlington, but also for the taxpayers of Tarrant County.
So it's pretty exciting. I've driven that area when I was going to school at UTA a few years ago. Just a few, long before she was born.
I didn't
Thank
say
you very
anything.
much for being here today.
Thank you, Sarah.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
Okay, then we will recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
Did you say David or Debbie?
Every time he takes a shower, he would get a breakout. I mean, it's just completely off his body.
So what do you, I guess
Any kind of water.
Having returned from our closed session, there not being any business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned.
Is it the water itself or chlorine?
I tested everything. I bought him filter water.